Hi all, welcome back. Today I will be continuing with the controlling, which is one of the functions of management, which I started in the last session. So today let's see the various control techniques that are there. Okay, in order to choose any particular control technique, you have to look at the nature of the organization. What is the nature of your organization? You select the control technique according to the nature, or who is going to use that particular technique. So based on the user you have to select, or based on the characteristics of the problems which you are trying to control. Okay, so whenever you are choosing a particular control technique, these things should be kept in your mind: the nature of your organization, intended users, and the characteristics of problems. And based on that, you can choose any one of the following control techniques. So these are the 6 main control techniques that are available. The first one is the budgets. Many of you are quite familiar with the term budgets. Then second one is financial statements. Then return on investment, Gantt chart, network analysis using PERT, and management information system. So these are the 6 control techniques that are available, which can be chosen by the person who is going to control. So let's see the first control technique, that is the budgets. So budgets are generally formulated before the beginning of the work activity. So we have seen in the last session, based on the time where you are trying to control, you can classify the controlling into 3 types, that is feed forward control, concurrent control, and feedback control. So we saw that if you are applying controlling before the beginning of the process or at the input stage, we call it feed forward control. So you can say budget is a type of feed forward control. Okay, so the budgets become the standards to managers for measuring, monitoring, and controlling the work activities. So before you start any type of work or any kind of work in your organization, you will set a budget. You will find out what will be the expense. Okay, so you will prepare a budget, and based on that you will control. You can control. So that is one method of controlling. Okay, based on the budget. So you have to prepare a budget initially, only then can you make use of it. So budgets can also become the basis for coordinating the different activities of an organization. And once in a while, once you start the work, and when you see that you are little away from the budget, or your expenses beyond, or it is increasing day by day, it is not falling in the same place as in the budget, so then you have to find a way out of that. You should try to reduce that so that we can be within the budget. So budget feedback can serve as inputs for improving both the planning and controlling processes. So whenever you see that the budget is exceeding from the limit, in that case you have to improve your planning, or you have to do some kind of changes in plan or the controlling processes. Budgets are often viewed as costly and time consuming exercise. So this is costly. You have to prepare a budget. It needs time, and you will have to recruit a person who will be able to prepare a budget well. So it will be time consuming and costly. But if it is really needed, you have to do it, isn't it? Instead of making mistakes in the future, it is always better to avoid mistakes. That's what we have seen in case of feed forward control. It always will identify what is the amount of input you need to put into, so that the inputs are regulated in such a way that there won't be any problem at the process stage. So it's always better to have a budget in order to regulate the inputs. So second control technique is financial statements. So financial statements are generally prepared at the end of every financial year to assess the various financial activities and strength of an enterprise. So by the end of the year we prepare this one. So you can say that it is a feedback control. Okay, at the end only we are checking. So based on the financial condition of the organization, we can make changes for the next year production. Okay, so we are looking at the past and we are preparing for the future. So you can say that it is a feedback control technique. So the two most commonly used financial statements are the balance sheet and the income statement or profit and loss account. So you have two financial statements which are used in most of the organizations. They are balance sheet and income statement, or otherwise it's called profit and loss account. So profit and loss account is a statement prepared at the end of every accounting year to ascertain the revenue profit earned from the business during that accounting year. So profit and loss statement will normally include, or it will be explaining the revenue. What is the amount of revenue acquired by the organization and what were the expenses. So there will be both the revenue and the expenses in that sheet. So then you can identify what is the profit of the organization. Is the organization a profitable organization? Okay, so you can identify the status of the organization from the profit and loss account. And balance sheet normally includes, balance sheet is a statement of assets and liabilities. Okay, in balance sheet it will include the assets of the organization and the liabilities of the organization. Along with that, in some cases they will also include the shareholders equity, that will also be there. Okay, so shareholders equity is actually equal to the assets minus the liabilities, will give you the shareholders equity, which helps us to determine the financial position of a concern on a particular date. So normally the balance sheet will give you the net worth of the company. From the balance sheet you can identify what is the net worth of the company. So in almost all the organization you can see they will be preparing, they will have a profit and loss statement as well as balance sheet. So in the profit and loss statement they will fill that every day, or you can say every week. So it will be updated, okay, as and when the work is being completed. So what is the revenue, what is the expense, all such things will be there. Day-to-day business transactions will be there in the profit and loss statement. And in the balance sheet, the entire thing of the company. What is the status of the organization? Okay, so the assets, liabilities and all will be in the balance sheet. Okay, so this is another type of control technique. So by looking at the balance sheet, you will know what is the net worth of your organization. Do you want to improve the net worth? So how can you improve the net worth? So for that, what should I do in the next financial year? So based on that, you can plan for the next year. So you can say that these two are balance sheet and the profit and loss statements. Both will help you to plan for the next round. So we are looking at the past and we are preparing for the future. So it is a feedback type of control technique. So balance sheet is basically a historical report showing the cumulative effect of the past transactions. So it will show the cumulative effect of all the transactions that is done in the past. So these are the two important ones, budgets and the income statement. Okay. Third one is return on investment. So this is another control technique. Return on investment or rate of return is another widely used management control technique. Okay, so this return on investment normally will help you to know the efficiency of your investment. So if you are investing in an organization, Okay, what will be the return on your investment? That can be calculated using return on investment. So let's see more of it. Return on investment is the rate of return a company can earn on the capital allocated to it. Or I can say, if I am putting in $1,000, okay, and by the end of the year, so I am investing $1,000 in the organization. By the end of year, if I am getting back $1,200, the return on statement can be calculated for that. So you can using ROI, it is aimed at measuring profit as return on the capital employed for producing them. So ROI is aimed at measuring the profit as return on the capital employed for producing them. So what you are giving to the organization, what are you getting out of it, and what is the profit percentage out of that. So that is calculated in return on investment. So I told you earlier, if I am investing $1,000 and if I am getting back $1,200, then the return on investment will be calculated using this formula, net profit by cost of investment. So if it is 1,000 and 1,200, the profit is $200. So $200 divided by 1,000, that is the invested amount. So 200 by 1,000 into 100 will give you the ROI. Okay, so that will be a percentage. So you will know what will be the return on investment. If you are investing this much amount, how much you will get back. If the ROI is high, then the financial performance of a business is good, and vice versa. You can say that if the ROI of an organization is quite high, you can say the status of the company is quite high, or you can say the company organization is performing quite well. Okay, so ROI is a tool to improve financial performance. So by looking at ROI, so you can calculate your organization's ROI, and from that you can plan for the next year. So what is the current status? Okay, so do you want any kind of improvement? You want to take your company to the next level. So then you have to plan accordingly. So this return on investment also can be categorized under the feedback control type of controlling. Feedback type of controlling. So we have learned about 3 different types of controlling. The first one was the budgets, second was the income statements, third return on investment. Let's move into the fourth one. Fourth one is Gantt chart. So Gantt chart was developed by a man named Henry L. Gantt. It is a bar chart showing the relationship of activities on a time scale. This chart is nothing but whatever your plan is, according to the plan you are developing a bar chart, so that at any point of time, by looking at the chart, you can identify where you have reached, or is there any lag in the activities that are being done. Okay, so according to that, if there is any lag, you can compensate by doing some extra work, or you can plan accordingly. So Gantt charts are ideal for tracking progress of activities. Okay, so we need to, while it is going on, you can track how much activities we have done, how far you have to reach. The number of days actually required to complete a task that reaches a target can be compared with the planned or estimated number. So already it will be planned, it will be charted there. For example, if I want to, what is the, I'll show you a figure of a Gantt chart. It will explain by itself. So this is a figure of a Gantt chart. So you can see here the days will be represented here on the horizontal scale, and the activity will be represented on the y-axis, and how long each work will take, that will be charted like this. Okay, so activity A will take this many days, so that is, here it is given as weeks. So 5 days, 10 days, 15, 20 days. So number of days are marked here. So this particular work A, activity A will take how many days? 10, 20, 30 days. 25 days. It will take 25 days. B activity will take 5, 10, 15, 20 days. C activity will take 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. So you can see from the chart when you are supposed to complete a particular activity. The entire activities, all the activities will be included in the Gantt chart, and at any point of time you can just look at the chart and identify what is the status of your activities. So the Gantt chart, as you saw just now, consists of two coordinates. The horizontal represents the time elapsed and the vertical represents the jobs or activities performed. So the jobs or activities are shown in the form of bars, as we saw. The length of the bar shows the time and the job or activity takes for completion. So this is the figure. So you can see here that both these activities are starting at the same time. So these two activities can be started at the same time. There is no problem. But the ending day is different. This will get completed 5 days ahead of this activity. And after 5 days, C will be started. And you can see that it is a 10, 15, 20, 25 day work. So each one, how many days it will take, and so from the start of your work, if you have completed 10 days, so what are the activities we have begun and how far we have reached. This is the plan. Okay, Gantt chart is based on our planning, and once the work starts, we can check our work with this Gantt chart and we can identify whether there is any lag of work, whether any change should be there. What is the current performance level? Are we matching up with this Gantt chart? If not, then you have to do something about it. So that is the purpose of, so this Gantt chart also can be used as a control technique, isn't it? So once we start the work, we will be comparing our work with this one, and you are making sure that both are matching. If in case they are not matching, you will do something so that both of them will match. So it is already explained in the bar chart. Activities A and B can chart at the same time, as I told you. Both A and B can proceed or start at the same time. Those activities are not interrelated, so they don't have any kind of relationship with one another, independent, so they can be started at the same time. So already I've with the figure I have already explained this. There will be difference in the starting date of different activities, and the ending day will also be different. You can, from the figure, you can identify the longest activity, the shortest activity, how many days each activity will take, and when we should complete a particular task. So if I have started a particular work today, how many days it will take to complete? So what is the plan number of days, and are we going according to the plan? All these things can be identified from the Gantt chart. So Gantt chart shows the time relationships between the events of a production program. Gantt chart is easy to understand, as you saw. You have seen that it's quite easy to follow up and understand that and produce a useful visual summary. But in Gantt chart, the critical activities are not identified. From it, we can just see what is the start date, how many days it will take each activity, when we'll be able to complete it. All these things are marked, but which are the critical activity, like which is the most important activity, which activity should we give priority? If a particular activity is delayed, then the entire production rate will slow down. So like that, we won't be able to identify the critical activities from a Gantt chart. So that is one of the drawbacks of Gantt chart. So we have seen 4 different controlling techniques. The first one is budgets, second one is income statement, third is we have seen Gantt chart, and third one was, which was the third one, return on statement, return on investment. So if you are investing amount of money in your company, how much will you get back? So that is the return on investment. ROI, and the last one was Gantt chart. So these are the four different types of control techniques that can be used in any organization. So there are two more. PERT is there, MIS is there. That I will continue in the next session. Thank you.